Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today from DayInTheLife Entertainment is Treylon Day. Trey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate you for contacting me, and we be able to do this interview.
Yeah, this is really cool. You had came into the barbershop and you were doing some promotion for your business, DayInTheLife Entertainment, which we're going to talk to you about at length. But I was really inspired by your work ethic and your kindness and your warm energy. So, you had talked to me about doing the cross promotion that we're going to talk to you in a bit about the Barbers Community Art Show.
Right.
And I thought it showed a lot of guts walking into another barbershop, promoting a different barbershop. But the owner of that barbershop, Elijah Mack, and the owner of my barbershop, George Dudley, they're pretty close. They're pretty, they're on good terms, and we're not competitive when it comes to other businesses. We're just kind of making, there's enough to go around. So
right.
I appreciate you doing this. There's a lot of different topics we're going to discuss, but first I want to talk mostly just about your business, DayInTheLife Entertainment. Why don't you tell us about what DayInTheLife Entertainment is?
Okay, so DayInTheLife Entertainment is event planning, talent scout, promotion, and entertainment coordination. So these are four different things that I do all together. So when I have someone contact me, it just depends. If they need help with the event, I can help them with planning the event. If they're an artist and they need help with getting more outreach with their music, that's when the promotion comes into play. Say if I see a person who's making music, but he doesn't have a lot of a backing with his music, that's when the talent scout comes into play. And then with entertainment coordination, I kind of try to find bigger gigs or bigger names in the industry. And I try to offer my services as a volunteer or for a small fee where I can assist with that bigger name and we can get something to work. That's when the entertainment coordination comes into place. So
right.
I wear a lot of hats.
What are some of the events you've done? I noticed just kind of looking around, doing some research for this interview, that you've done Hop Karaoke. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I work with a guy by the name of Jared. He's a pretty cool guy. He contacted me because I was doing a lot of events in town, and he works at the O Bar, which
right.
is located across the street from Stadium Park. And what we have is a hip hop karaoke night where we allow two local artists to come in. And so for an hour and a half, we'll let people kind of, warm up with some hip hop karaoke. And we're not just saying it's just hip hop karaoke. If you want to do a song that's R&B, or if you want to do a rock song, we allow that as well. But we just kind of want to warm everybody up, get everybody comfortable, and then we'll allow an artist to kind of come out there and
kind of do their own thing. But yeah, hey, see if you can center that out a little bit. You're shrinking. So there you go. So so then tell us more about the Barber Community Art Show. That was back in February.
Yeah. So the Barbers Community Art Show. A good friend of mine, Deontay Carter, he contacted me and wanted to have an event. And he wanted to have a sort of event so that he could do outreach for his company. And it could be a collaboration with my company as well, so I could get my name out there. And we were sitting down and we were kind of just planning on what do we wanted to do. And the owner of Supernature Barbershop, Elijah Mack, we contacted him and told him, hey, is there any way that we can, use your space? And a good friend, Aaron Thompson, which is his relative to Elijah Mack, I knew him and I was like, hey, maybe you can kind of juice him up and kind of, let him know if we can use the space. And, we can also get you out there because Aaron's a graphic designer. So it was just kind of looking at Aaron as the middleman of the event. Sure. And kind of just saying like, hey, go to Elijah, ask him if we can use the space. And then from there, me and Deontay met with Elijah, and then we set up the event. And we had a meeting with, it was about 6 artists, and sat down with them and kind of just went over like, hey, we're just trying to be able to promote local artists. We'll let you guys, if you sell anything at the event, you keep 100% of the proceeds. We were just trying to allow an event where a local artist can just kind of get their work out and, make some money from it.
That's a cool idea to have it in a barbershop. I know, especially in the Black neighborhoods, that the barbershop is like a community center, So, everybody's flavor across the world in the barbershops are a little bit different. But I think for everybody, it's a place where everyone can come together. You can still be a little bit more crass than other places. You know, you can be your true self. And
Right, right,
so I
right.
thought that
That's
was a
why.
cool concept, you
Yeah,
know.
that was the reason why we chose the barbershop because, when you go into the barbershop, like you say, it's just kind of like, anything can be said. Nobody's going to judge you, just like with artists, you can put your artwork out there. Nobody's going to judge you. If somebody likes it and they want to pay for it, hey, you got your fan right there. That I feel like that's more powerful than just, getting booked for a show and stuff like
Sure.
that.
Now you mentioned Aaron. Did you say Aaron Thompson? Is he who's doing the flyers like for that event that you post on
Yes.
Facebook and stuff? So
Yes.
on your in the show notes, I'll go ahead and list the Facebook page and your Instagram. But the Facebook page is a good place for people to find information about Day in the Life Entertainment. You can see the work that Aaron's done with the graphic design work, and then the leg work that you're doing, putting these shows together, bringing people together of all different walks of life. That's really cool. Uh, how has your business model been affected by COVID? It's a lot harder to reach out to people and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So the majority of the income I was getting was from live shows. So like the O Bar, and I also had two shows that was coming up in March and another one in April. But due to the COVID, I wasn't able to successfully do them. But yeah, I've lost a lot of fans. I lost,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of revenue. I also put money into those shows, and with the COVID, I haven't received that money back because that was all put towards that event. So,
Now, how
um,
long has Day in the Life Entertainment kind of been off the ground? Is this a fairly new project for you?
yeah. So last year around June, I kind of came up with an idea like, hey, where do I see myself in 10 years? I just didn't want to be working at a 9 to 5 job or just trying to be a professional student. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna figure out a way where I can be able to make an income for myself, but also help the people that I know who are artists.
Right.
And then from there, I started getting connection with different venues and teaming up with different people who have art galleries and things like that, and just kind of plug and play, you know, doing my services and also helping out friends that I know who are talented artists.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things about with COVID because as a gig worker, you were then for the first time ever eligible for unemployment, because you're independent contractor, but you have to show some form of what you did last year. So for people like you start this new business within the last, calendar year, whatnot, it's really hard to get, anything on paper because it's all potentials, and to prove what you could have lost, it's almost impossible, because nobody knows how a show is going to go, especially with the starting out organization. It's and in this town, I mean, fortunately, we're blessed with a ton of different types of artists, musicians, everything.
Right.
But that being said, there's just so much competition that it's really tough to get a good draw, and it's really tough to get your point across just from a flyer about what exactly what the event you're trying to hold. So that can be a huge challenge.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree.
so one of the things that Day in the Life Entertainment does is you have artists that you're trying to get onto, a label essentially. What are the kind of artists that you look for?
So it varies. I look for hip hop artists. I also look for painters. I also look for producers. I look for dancers. I look for a variety of different artists. So, whether that be dance, music, painting, I just kind of plug and play.
So the
Plug and
shows, yeah, obviously you have your hand in different things. So like the karaoke specifically going to be karaoke,
right.
but for bigger events, is the goal to kind of bring a lot of different people together, kind of more of a festival kind of feel? Is that like a long-term goal?
Yes. So with bigger events, I try to make it more diverse. So I try to bring in kind of R&B, hip hop, some bands if I can get a hold of them. So yeah, with the bigger events, I try to get a more diverse setting so that more people can draw. Because Eugene is just EDM. It's everybody kind of sits with their genre. So I try to
Sure.
create events where all different aspects of different genres can be in one location.
That's always been one of my favorite things to do. I was part of putting together a festival called Unity in the Community up to McKenzie,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
we had reggae and hip hop and like all kinds of stuff together. Well, that kind of works, reggae and hip hop. But we also had like almost country. We had a couple guys doing like '90s alternative rock covers. It was pretty fun, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was definitely set up to be mixed genre. It's actually funny, unity in the community, because it was me and my girl's ex, which is her boys' dad. So like true unity in the community. We came together and it was a lot of fun. You know, him and I get along, we get along really well. But so yeah, that was a lot of fun. And those kind of events are a kick. And again, I know how it can go putting together a show, because that was up to McKenzie. So we had, I don't know, 200 people or right under. And we were pretty excited about that number, because that's a community of like, I don't know, 3,000 or something or less.
Right.
You know, so
population layer. Yeah, you got a population of only like 25,000. Yeah.
So you know, I mean, I know that one of the things that is good about promotion and self-promotion with the kind of work you do is by going face to face, by going into businesses, and that's just cut off right now.
Right.
But when you don't have the name recognition, it's really difficult, which is why I wanted to have you on, because this gives people an opportunity to follow your socials. The links will be in the show notes. Day in the Life Entertainment. So we'll talk a little bit about that as this goes on. You wear many hats. So one of the other things that you do, you're a student at Lane Community College, and you are the president of the Black Student Union. I'd like you to tell us how that came to be and what your role as the president entails.
Okay, so I started at Lane Community College in 2018. And when I first started, I seen on campus that there wasn't a lot of POCs on campus like that. So I just wanted to kind of find an organization or a group of people where I could kind of relate to them. And a good friend of mine named Jeremy, he kind of told me about the Black Student Union. And then I just went to one of the meetings and kind of got to know some of the people in the organization. And then like a couple months later, I was like, you know, I want to get a little bit more serious with it. So I started out as a secretary, and then I worked my way up as the vice president, and then now to the president.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty good. And that looks pretty damn good on a resume. And I'm sure that the organization that you do is really big. Now, the rallies, I noticed you've been posting some pictures that you've been, you know, very present at the rallies. Is that a connection? Do you kind of get the people organized through some of the people you know through Lane? I know that there's also people in the community, but how is the Lane? Has Lane been supportive of the kind of outreach you're doing through the rallies?
Yes. So LCC Black Student Union, some of the members of the organization are taking upon themselves to kind of conduct some of the rallies that we see in Eugene.
Right.
And the main thing that we want to kind of put towards the community members is we're doing this as a peaceful protest. We're not out here trying to vandalize or do anything like that. And with this is giving each member traits that they can use later down in the road, and also be able to use this on their resume to say, hey, you know, during the time of George Floyd's death, I was able to conduct a rally in a peaceful protest,
right,
and also to educate community members, you know. So we kind of put it upon ourselves to do these things, you know, because, you know, we can't do anything on campus.
Yeah, and it sucks when it gets hijacked, when the whole conversation is focused on looting. I mean, you know, as a barber shop, I'm not the owner, but as an employee, I'm an independent contractor. So, I mean, essentially, I kind of do own my own stake in it. We're sitting here thinking constantly about, do we board up the windows, and, you know, all these different things. And so it's really unfortunate, because there's a select small group of people that typically are white in Eugene that are doing this destruction, that aren't, I haven't seen one example in Eugene of looting by a Black person. I have not seen one image of it, you know. Now across the country in Minneapolis, we've seen some shit. Let's be real.
Yeah, real talk. Yeah.
Opportunists, no matter what, and that, you know, that's across the board. But I haven't seen it in Eugene, and so I think it's really telling about what this is about and the people that are organizing these events, because a lot of them, they have to get permits, you know, and so in order to get the permits, the city has to know that you have a message that you're trying to get across. And so, you know, it's crucial that people understand that there's a separation between the riots and the protests and the rallies. Exactly. You know, I've been impressed with seeing some of my white friends that aren't usually that vocal about politics, which race shouldn't be political. I mean, let's just be real, but have never vocalized extreme views because they don't want to rock the boat. Now I see people that are getting really aggressive, and these are the people that we've needed to speak out for so long, because they're so thoughtful that they're calling out people that are using faith, like weaponizing their faith, you know, to basically hold people back. Now, how do you feel, or do you feel that this time is different?
So looking back in history, I do feel that what we're seeing now, has already happened in history, but I do feel that right now it's amplified. I do feel that right now at this time, a lot of people are tired, because this is a reflection of America. This is a reflection of the things that we have been going through for so long, and now people are fed up. So,
Right.
like you say, that people that you have seen, like, hey, they express these type of views, but they wouldn't express it to the aggressive nature that they're doing now. And I feel like this is the time where we really got to think about the future and the next generation, because if not, are we going to be just going through the history repeats itself again?
And
Are we
that's
going
it.
to
I mean, we're seeing a lot of parallels to the 60s that
right, right,
we've all read up on. And I mean, we all know what happened in the 60s is assassinations. And I hope that that's not next. I hope that we can keep this nonviolent, and I hope that we can. And it's pretty scary when the police, I saw a meme and it said something about how the police they're like, I'll kill you if you keep saying that we kill you. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. And, nobody's trying to say that it's everybody in the cops, but something's got to give. I mean, obviously, what's telling to me is seeing, I don't want to throw her under the bus, but like my stepmom, for example, she's a very great person, but she lives in this box. And if you're outside of this box, then she doesn't see what you're doing. And so she has started posting support for the family of George Floyd. She's talking about the nuances to this issue in that, like with the rioting, because a lot of times people just see the destruction of property
of
and
course.
that's tangible to them because they don't want to face the facts that we have a systematic oppression that's been built since the very beginning of this nation.
Exactly.
And that element of it, that's why when people will make the argument, they'll say, well, more white people get killed by cops every year. And it's like, for one, there's more white people. And so the numbers don't
Oh.
line up. For two, every situation is nuanced. The George Floyd one was an example that is not, there's no way to swing it.
There's no buying past what we're seeing on camera, and
Somebody in
that
the back is never acceptable. I don't care.
ex-
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason that, that's not that the officer was afraid for their life. Like, that's just out of control to have that argument, and so it's unfortunate that it had to happen, obviously, but I do feel like George Floyd's name is not going to go down without, being somebody that's remembered as, and that's the harsh reality is that guy didn't choose this. You know
no.
what I mean? And so people want to honor that as much as they can, but that's really difficult. Now, I wanted to ask you in a different light too. You see, I'm wearing a Colin Kaepernick jersey.
I do.
With the NFL making statements like they have lately, your personal opinion, and I also want to add this. I learned a long time ago, growing up in Oregon, it is what it is, but I don't have a lot of black friends. I don't know a lot of black people because it's just the population density in Oregon, especially Eugene. And I was asking one of my friends who's black, and I was like, what do black people think about this? And he said, well, you're going to have to ask them individually because everybody has a different opinion. And
Right.
that was a light bulb moment for me. I was like, oh my God, like, you're not asking an entire race of people. So I'm asking you personally as Trey, what do
Okay.
you think? Do you think that the NFL is acting too late? Do you think it's too little too late? Are you happy with the way that the NFL is responding, even if it's late? And your take on the whole Colin Kaepernick thing?
Um, to be honest, I feel that the NFL, they're pitiful. I'm sorry to say, but they are pitiful. For somebody who is in your organization who put his life on the line for the game of football, and to say, hey, I want to make a stand. Personally, make a stand. Not to say that everybody has to believe, because everybody has their opinion. But for one player in your organization to say, hey, I want to make a stand, and he makes a gesture of taking a knee, and then you want to bash him, kick him out, and everything like this, and then now you're seeing what's been going on with this person personally, and now you want to stand up when everybody was trying to tell you, because once Colin Kaepernick took that knee, everybody did the due diligence of doing it. And it was just because they felt the same way he felt personally.
Right.
Just him doing it personally, that reflected on everybody else because we all know it's there. African Americans in the NFL knew that that was there, but it took Colin Kaepernick personally to do it. And then for the NFL to say, oh, well, if anybody kneels, then it's consequences upon you, as well as the president said that there will be consequences upon people.
And he didn't stop there. And I'll say it, he didn't stop there. He called sons of bitches. Like, he's like, all you sons of bitches. I mean, and that's a different animal, because this is the breaking point in this country, because if we had a different president as the president, I don't care who it is. It doesn't have to be Obama. I'm saying it could be George W. Bush right now. He would get out there and say something thoughtful enough. Any president other than Trump would say something thoughtful enough that he'd be like, look, we don't understand why this is happening, why people are going crazy. How can we come together? We need to work as Americans, you know, not to cut you off. You can.
No, you're good. No, you're good. That point right there, you took it upon him saying he's disrespecting the whole United States of America, not looking at the fact that, hey, what's the problem? Can we address this problem? You know what I'm saying? Instead of it getting to this point where we're at now, because I just seen an interview with Donald Trump saying, oh, you know, I apologize for the death of George Floyd. You know, I really show my condolences and things like this nature. But where was that with Colin Kaepernick? Where was that with all of these people who were kneeling when you called them sons of bitches?
Right. And he also said that today is a great day for George Floyd looking down because the economy is doing well, you know, or whatever he's, you know, and the reality is, I talked before about opportunists in turning protests into violent riots. Donald Trump is nothing more than an opportunist. All he is he's using it as fodder for support. Now, Donald Trump is not, he got this opportunity because of organizations like Fox News. And Fox News was who was beating the drum against Colin Kaepernick, trying to make it, they know their audience, and it's all market research. Now, with what you're doing with your entertainment, you know, group, as you grow, market research is how you find out if you're just throwing money at nothing, you know?
Exactly.
And so when they research, they're like, this is what people are looking for. And so let's just beat that drum constantly. Sometimes I wonder what comes first. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. Is it Fox News or is it the angry 70-year-old white man? You know?
Right. No, you have a strong point there, because at the end of the day, when you look at our society, money rules the world. You know what I mean? And with going back to your question about the NFL, I feel like the NFL is now using this as an analytic, where, hey, you know, this is brewed up. Now let's use this as a momentum so that people can shift towards us and look at Kaepernick in the limelight. So now more people are supporting us, because when everything was going down, there was a lot of people saying F the NFL because of what Kaepernick did, and they did not support what he did.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, one thing I've heard from a lot of different people is saying, if you ask the question, is it too little, too late? They say, let's wait to answer that till there's results, because anybody can get out and have lip service and say, you know, change is going to come. We're going to do some, but like one of the examples, I saw that Ivanka Trump was going to give a commencement speech at Wichita State, and people were like, no. And there's this whole cancel culture argument in colleges, right? They're like, no, we're not going to let her speak at this, or we don't want her to speak at this. This is our day that we worked hard for. And though she has said things that are thoughtful of the bigger picture, we'll just put it that way, you know,
right.
The actions, if she's the senior advisor to the administration, the actions should show no, step in the right direction. So, and I encourage people, I'm not super versed on that. I watched something in passing, but it's very true that unless you're going to, you can speak a big game, but unless your actions are going to show. And that's where I think that in this situation today, what we've seen in Eugene is we've seen people putting their money where their mouth is. If they're quiet, if they're not somebody that wants to be out marching, or maybe they're worried about COVID. This is the other underlying issue, that you have to stay home and stay safe right now. If that's what's going to work for you, because we don't know. I mean, I would hate to see the numbers spike, but I think they're going to. But I think for those people, they've been donating money, and there's people that are doing their part, even on social media. Now, normally, I don't think that just posting something on social media is going to make a difference.
No,
but it is changing minds when your friend. I'm so outspoken that my friend group has weeded itself out. That people have deleted me, and I've blocked other people because we're so we're button heads.
Right.
So
I was talking about that with a good friend of mine, about we're living in a time now where if you have a certain view about something, that's going to be to the forefront, and that's going to determine your friendships. You know, the way
it's
you
hard.
view
Yeah.
things now is going to determine your friendships with people.
It's hard. I wish everything could be more like how this is funny to say. I don't drink, but I wish things could be more like how it is at a bar. Now with your
No, no, I feel you, because it's all truth. You
with
know, when you drink, the
right.
truth comes out.
And with Day in the Life Entertainment, you're doing stuff through bars. I mean, that's a lot of the O Bar and different places.
Right.
O Bar is actually a really good example of a place that I do feel like, in my experience, there's always exceptions, but there's been a welcoming of different races, of different people kind of come together. I'm not going to name names, but there's a few bars that I'm sure when you walk in, people are like, "What do you need?"
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know, I try not to do business with those bars, and they know that. You know what I mean? And you know, no shame in their game. You know, they can do what they want. But I do feel that there are a lot of business owners in Eugene who feel the same way about my vision about getting multiple diverse people in one setting so that they can have those conversations and in a good setting, because it's kind of hard to you can't just walk down the street and just say, hey, how do you feel about racism,
Yeah.
you know? But when
Starbucks.
you go
Starbucks is funny. You remember when Starbucks was trying? What were your thoughts on that? When Starbucks was like, we're gonna welcome our employees to talk to the customers about race, and it's like, dude, I just want a cup of coffee, like, And then they got in the hot water because I think cops came, and then there's two African American guys that were.
Right. So they tried to make a stand on that. They actually closed down every Starbucks so that they could work on cultural competency and stuff like that.
I mean, it's something. See, this is where, sometimes this stuff backfires or it looks tone deaf, but you have to hand it to them because, and it's funny because their windows get smashed every time that there's a riot. But you have to hand it to them that we're talking about how are you going to change policy? Well, that's how you change policy. You make efforts. And so sometimes you're going to look stupid and clumsy, especially if you try to dance and you're white. That's just the way it goes.
For sure. But those uncomfortable, don't mean to cut you off, those uncomfortable settings is how you learn about yourself. It's how you learn about your business. Yeah, some people are going to doubt what you're doing, but once you get out there and you're uncomfortable, you're going to learn like, hey, it was better to do this than to hide behind it, because now look at Starbucks. They're like, wait a minute. Everybody's like, that's how y'all felt the whole time. I mean, like, the company is being seen, but it's like, now that you're pushing the envelope, now more people are seeing like, okay, at least they're taking the measures to try to change. You know what I'm saying? Let's give them for that. Let's give them that.
I think the big thing that I have learned, like I mentioned before, and how I'm fortunate that in my job where I work on campus, I get to talk to people from not only all over the country, but all over the world. And so I've had the opportunity to meet people from like Brazil and Saudi Arabia and Bolivia and China and Korea, and it's insane. Africa, from Ghana, and just all kinds of different places. But one thing I've learned about race is that it's really important that we look at each other as an individual. Every one of us is an individual, but we're all part of one collective. Now, there's going to be cultural things that we should all celebrate and that we should look at culturally. So when you're asking somebody about race, you're going to ask about culture. That's what you're asking about, not, so because our experiences are definitely different and there's pros and cons to both. I know for a lot of white people, their biggest thing, they talk about poverty in the African American community. And they're like, what about me? I was poor as shit growing up, and so they don't understand opportunity. And I think you'll answer this, but I mean, Black people a lot of times are like, I want you to survive too. I want you to strive too, and like thrive too. Like, it's not about, this is the thing where Black Lives Matter gets lost for people. They choose to make it get lost. Let's be real. But because they don't look at it as equality and equity. They look at it as like something has to be taken from them. Like the world is a pie.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
I
understand what you're saying, because it's all about the perception of how you look at it.
Right.
Because a lot of African Americans in the community, we're not saying like, you know what I mean, we're trying to take we're trying to take over the world. Like, no, we're simply stating the facts. We're simply stating the facts, and sometimes the truth hurts, man. The truth hurts.
Well, of history, exactly. I mean, absolutely. One thing that, this sounds bad when I say this sometimes because I'm a white person with privilege and I acknowledge it, but my ancestry is Irish. And if you know the history of the Irish people, now I'm not saying that I can separate myself from privilege. That being said, if we, as for white people, if they start to look at their origin story, they're going to see relatable experiences.
You're hitting it right on the nail. I was just talking about this with somebody, man. Like they didn't even understand that Europeans were enslaving their own people at a
Exactly.
point in time. You know what I'm saying? Before they went to other countries and started enslaving people, they ran that on their own people. So it's hard for people to even grasp that concept because they only been projected of their culture oppressing another culture, not themselves being oppressed by their own people.
Well, and I think for a lot of people, that's what America promised. That's what America. So it's a letdown for a lot of people in this country. That, not that I feel sorry for them, but it's a reality. And this is how we squash this kind of issues. Is like you said, learn our history, embrace the reality that we don't want to repeat that kind of stuff, and then celebrate our differences and our similarities.
Exactly.
You know, and I mean, we should be. That's what sports bring, and that's why I wanted to bring in Colin Kaepernick. Because sports bring people together, and sports is the great equalizer. I say it all the time. Michael Jordan was not, he was a pioneer without saying a word. Now he's being very vocal, which is great. But during his career, he was like, I just want to play basketball.
Yep.
What he did was he wasn't the best black athlete. He was the best athlete, period.
Right.
You know, and Venus Williams is now the best athlete across the board in any sport.
Right.
You know, that's my opinion. And so, you know, well, Trey, it's really cool to meet you formally. And I mean, we talked for 10 minutes before in the past, but as things get reopened and you're able to do events, I'll find ways to plug them on the podcast, and we can do some cross promotions, and I'll have you back on. I want you in the studio so that the audio quality and video quality is not, we're not hitting with it right now, but Zoom's working. And I think it's cool because we're still doing what we can for, to build community. So
and I appreciate that.
This. In the show notes of this, there's going to be links to your Instagram and your business page for Day in the Life Entertainment. Everybody should check that out. I'm going to do one thing that I like to do as well, and this is a way that anybody can help any small business. You go on Facebook, you go to the communities tab where it says your friend, it says invite, or it says, there's a thing right there that says like who your mutual friends or whatever. You can also invite all. So I'm going to invite all my friends to follow your page and see how that works.
That would be dope. That would be dope. I appreciate that. So
Treylon Day, it was an honor talking to you. This is if they're watching or listening to, it's already live, but we're going to get this up. It's like 2:30 now. We're going to try to do it like 4:00. So, last thing, we're going to end it with a song. I always like to end it with a local song. So you had personally picked a friend of yours, and it was, you tell us about that. The song is called Dear Best Friend by ChoSin. Tell us about this song.
So ChoSin is a local artist. He's from California. Spent some time in Las Vegas, but he's a good friend of mine. I met him at an event, at a Black Student Union event. He told me that he was an artist and he's just, trying to work his way up, get some content out there. And he just released an EP called Reinvention. I want to say that this EP was dropped about 3 months or 4 months ago. And he's just trying to get more promotion on it and stuff like that. So I'm just doing my due diligence to get that music out there for him.
It's a good song. The song we're going to play, it's called Dear Best Friend. It's really positive. And we'll have to talk off air a little bit about DistroKid and ways, because this song is only on SoundCloud right now.
Right.
DistroKid is an awesome tool for up and coming artists, because I think it's like $20 a year for each artist to upload their music, and then it goes to Apple Music, Spotify, all that stuff. It's really, really inexpensive. So we'll have to talk about that off air. And I'm all about trying to help with, I've been making music for a long time, and I do it for myself. I don't ever have any weird idea that it's going to blow up, but that's how this podcast started, was Spent the Rent Records is what my record label is, like Day in the Life for you. It's just something that's like a multi-pronged approach. It's so much, so. Well, this is, we're going to end it. So Treylon Day, appreciate you doing this. This is Dear Best Friend by ChoSin.
Let's lose ourselves in the midst of friendship and happiness. Love is a title that seems to destroy the magic shit. So no more holding hands, the thought of lips is oh so vague. I cannot trust another soul-to-soul connection, babe. Confession day, it's all a play. The world's a stage and puppets way. Black is the heaviest heart, and no way I still can't hate. Even though the void, deep space, I'm pushing day to day. So I release all this pain and sorrow through poetry. Amongst the masses, finally I see these colors mashing into a gray. The playground of the real should have stayed old-fashioned. I watch you float away and swing until your heart is gold. Then puff my medicine, light up like Edison. Now here we go, with conversation as deep as an empty well of hope. We politic and laugh at ignorance, my friend, for sure. I stand on top of the table as to say king of the world, and you just laugh and say I'm silly, a little boy and girl having fun until the sun would rise and then the night is done. But we're young past being dumb, trying to find our way when heaven comes. I found that forcing or pushing too hard can quickly break two friends apart. This natural, let's go back to start. Or have we grown to go our separate ways and live in dark with mental bars? Guess love ain't for the faint at heart. Emotions holding the logic at hostage, vision impaired to the nonsense. This here is the reason love is blind. Gotta use the knowledge of heartbreak as my armor. My soul isn't numb, it's stronger. Believe this angel's fine. It's just the world that we living in has a plague, and the people have become the problem. The evil is mankind. And I just wanted to say that to you. Dear best friend, I hope you're doing all right. Peace.